The kids are home for summer and you're noticing it. Every time they come inside, they just drop it all. Wet towels, shoes, the pool bag on the floor, and off to the next thing. Because obviously there's a magical cleanup fairy that comes in and cleans up all the mess as the kids scurry off to their next adventure. And if that's your house right now, stick with me because there's one last clutter dial, and honestly, this is the one that trips most of us up. But once it starts to click, all those changes that you've been making are finally going to feel like they're starting to stick. And you might even see it rub off on your kiddos too. Over this series, we've been talking about getting intentional, choosing what to keep because it's actually serving you and letting go of the rest that's not. And then assigning every item a home and making your organizational systems low friction so that you and your family will actually use them. So today we're on the last clutter dial and we're talking habits, and summer is actually the perfect time to start implementing habits because you tend to be home a little more and the kids have a little more free time to practice follow through on habits they're forgetting. And listen up because habits are so important for the long haul. Because here's the truth, you can give every item a home and you can design and implement the most perfect organizational system in the world. But the systems are only the structure. Habits are what keep them going and keep things flowing. So without the daily habits to back up your organizational system, and more importantly, without teaching those habits to your kids, your systems are going to fail. The clutter creeps back every single time. So today we're going to talk a few basic principles that are essential when building a new habit, plus a handful of habits that you can put into practice this summer with your kids at home. So you can get your kids helping you to maintain the systems. Okay, we're going to get nerdy for a little bit because I want to encourage you that change is possible. Building a habit is so much easier said than done. Your brain sees the logic behind the habit, and it's so easy to say the words, yeah, I'll just do this. And you've probably heard that it takes 21 days to build a habit, but that number was never actually based on habit research. And when scientists have studied it, the actual number was very different. Building a habit takes a lot longer and it varies wildly, but it was anywhere from a few weeks to the better part of a year. So if you're expecting these habits to be formed in 21 days, you're likely to get really frustrated. So I want to set the bar really low. We don't have to get frustrated if by day 4 you haven't gotten it yet, right? So if it takes your kids or you all summer long, even with just one habit, that is okay. You're not doing anything wrong. In fact, you're probably right on track with the average person. But good news, once a habit is developed, it can run on autopilot. So much of what we do every day isn't a fresh decision at all. It's just habit triggered by the situation that we're in. So that's our end goal, where our habits that we're building start to become instinctive and second nature, and it becomes automatic, and it's not any work at all. Okay, so how do we get there? 2 principles. And first one is that we want to anchor it to something that's already happening. James Clear calls this habit stacking. And if you have not read his book, Atomic Habits, I am such a big fan. I would highly recommend. So I will link that in the description below. But he talks about habit stacking. And this is, you take a new habit and you're going to link it to something that you're already doing. So like after we get out of the pool, the wet swimsuits go on this hook. After we eat, our plates go into the dishwasher. After we get home from baseball practice, the bat, the gloves go into the bin, and our uniform goes into the dirty laundry. In every one of these examples, you're hanging the new habit of getting the laundry off the floor, getting the wet swimsuit off the floor, getting the dishes into the dishwasher. You're hanging that habit on something that's already routinely occurring. Okay, principle number 2, we want the space to do the reminding so that you don't have to. This is where the habits that we're talking about and then your systems from the last video meet. So making it simple, having a hook at the kid's eye level, having a bin that's easy to open and just drop something in without a lid on top. Putting a thing away has to be just as easy, or if possible, easier than putting it in the wrong spot. When rehoming an item is the easy, obvious choice, then building the habit of consistently putting it away becomes so much easier to build. So much quicker. And did you know, neurologically speaking, every time you or your child repeat the behavior, you're literally wiring or rewiring the habit in? MIT neuroscientist Anne Graybiel found that when we repeat a routine over and over, the brain bundles it into an automatic chunk, and the pathway in our brains get a little stronger each time until eventually the whole thing runs without us having to think about it. So every time your kid hangs up that towel, they're not just hanging a towel, they're strengthening the wiring that will make it automatic down the road. Which means every time you remind them to come back and actually do the thing, this is not about nagging. This is about you helping your child build a future where they don't even have to think twice about doing the action. Okay, so let's talk strategy for getting these habits to actually stick for your kids and honestly for you too. And it's going to start with a gut check because if we're being honest with ourselves, it's way easier to spot everyone else's mess than our own. The shoes your husband kicked off in the doorway, the backpack your kid dropped right where you trip on it. And sure, most of the time there really is someone else adding to the pile, but a lot of the time we're just as guilty. Real change can start with us when we get honest about how we're adding to it too. And as you take ownership out loud, oops, mommy forgot to put her sunglasses in their home. Your kids see you model exactly what you want from them. Forgetting isn't a big deal. The moment you realize you forgot, or let's be honest, sometimes we're just making the lazier choice, all you have to do is all you're asking of your kids. It's taking a few seconds to put the item back in its home. No big deal, right? One of my kids actually used to have a really hard time letting go of things, even like broken stuff they weren't using. Over the years, they've gotten more comfortable of letting go what's not serving them. And recently they told me, I feel like it's easier to focus when there's not as much stuff out. And those are their words, not mine, which just goes to show, like us, our kids can change. It won't be overnight, so be patient and gracious with everyone, yourself included, as you put in the work in the in-between of building new habits. So, how do you actually teach a new habit to a kid? Back when I worked as a nurse, we had a method for reaching competency on a new skill. See one, do one, teach one. And it works just as well for habits at home. Although, since we're working with kids whose brains aren't fully developed yet, it usually takes a lot more than one of each, but the principle holds. So see one, they watch you do it. Here's the bin your shoes live in. This is where and how I want you to put them. Do one, they do it themselves. The first several times right alongside you, you stop them at the door. Remember, shoes come off and go in their home right here. Then you let them try on their own. When they remember, name it out loud. Hey, you remembered. And when they forgot, no big deal. You just call them back. Hey, do you remember where your shoes live when we're home? And then lastly, teach one. Once they've got it, let them show a younger sibling. Nothing locks in a habit like teaching it to someone else. One more tip before we get tactical. The easiest time to set a new expectation is when everyone's calm. No one's running late, no one's melting down. So try a quick family meeting, grab some popcorn or popsicle to explain the why. We're going to start building some new habits, and this is so we can get out the door faster and have more fun this summer. And when we all pitch in, it gets done way quicker. Remember, you can't force any of this, but you can model it, teach it, and repeat it. And over time, that is what sticks. Okay, now onto these summer habits you can start building. I'm going to split these up into two groups. First, a few daily habits that keep everyday expected mess from turning into clutter, and then a few that keep your inventory from creeping back over time. And hear me on this, change can be hard, especially for our kiddos, so you do not need to do all of these at once. In fact, I'd suggest you don't. Pick the one that you think would help your family the most and start there. Then, as you notice that habit taking hold, you can slowly fold in any others that would help. Okay, daily habits for expected mess. Remember, as we go through our day just living life, we create expected mess. The coffee cup on the side of the table, the sunglasses dropped on the entryway console after your morning walk, the plates left on the counter after lunch. The goal of these daily habits is to keep that expected mess from piling up into visual clutter. And here's the bonus. When you clear the expected mess out of your line of sight, it gets so much easier to spot the actual clutter, the things that need to be donated, tossed, or moved into your safety stock bin. So, first habit is around dishes. If you do not have a dishes routine, please listen up because dishes are a huge culprit of visual clutter. After every meal, plates go straight into the dishwasher, not the sink, not the counter, and you run it once a day. This is the fastest way to keep your kitchen from spiraling into a chaotic mess. Okay, next we're talking laundry. If you've already got a laundry rhythm that works, keep it up. But if you don't, try doing one load a day, start to finish. Wash, dry, fold, and put away. If you've got more than 6 people under your roof, you might even need to do a couple days with 2 loads. The whole goal is to never let it pile into a mountain of clothes that you have to tackle on the weekend. And when it's just one load, putting it away only takes a couple of minutes. Okay, next, the coming home reset. Okay, so this one actually starts before you're in the house. As everyone is piling out of the car, here's the rule. It's simple. If you brought it to the car, you bring it back in. Water bottles, trash, shoes, nobody leaves their stuff behind. And benefit alert, this is also the secret to a tidy car. Then, as you come through the door, everything goes straight to its home. Don't just drop the bag of library books by the door, walk them to the spot where the library books live. Don't kick your shoes off in the entryway, put them in their home. When you build the habit of bringing it all in and putting it away right then, you don't just save your car from being a disaster, but you start building that muscle of dealing with an item the moment it's in your hands instead of later. Okay, lastly, the daily family reset. So right before dinner or right before screen time, set a timer, put on some music, and everybody resets the common areas together. When everyone pitches in for a few minutes, it goes fast and it turns into a rhythm the whole family shares. Pro tip, depending on your kids' ages and how much mess you're actually making while you're home during the day, I've found it can be easier to do 2 or 3 quick 5-minute resets throughout the day rather than one big one at the end. But either way, a few minutes a day is what saves you from the all-day Saturday reset. Okay, group 2, these are the habits that keep clutter from creeping back. These are protecting all the decluttering and the organizational systems work that you've already done. So habit 1 in and 1 out. If you got a new water toy that came in, let go of an old one you're not using anymore. If you got new clothes that came in, let go of the ones that are stained or too small. A helpful rule of thumb to keep inventory from creeping up is every time you bring an item in, if the container that it goes in doesn't have room, something has to come out to make space. That's what keeps your inventory from climbing back up and your bins from overflowing by the time it's August. Okay, next, intentional purchases. So before something comes home, I want you to ask 2 quick questions. Where is this going to live? And do I actually have room for it? Know what home you're going to assign it before it ever crosses your threshold. This is the habit that stops clutter from ever getting through your front door, so you don't even have to deal with it later on. Okay, next habit, we want to keep your homeless bin going. Don't retire your homeless bin. As you do your daily resets, anything that doesn't have a home yet needs to go in it. So this is going to help you keep catching the stuff that still needs a place, and this is how every item has a home stays true over time, especially as you bring new stuff in. Here's what I want to stick with you. It's going to feel clunky before it feels automatic. Remember, the average was 66 days, not 21. And some people took almost an entire year to build the new habit. It'll take most of the summer before you actually start to feel the change occurring, and that's okay. What that means is you're likely to slip up before the habit's built. So when you do great for 2 days and then you slip up, don't give up. It's okay. Don't beat yourself up. Going back to James Clear's book, Atomic Habits, he's got this concept that I love, and it's called never miss twice. Because that one slip up is fine, but 2 slip ups is when you start that habit you're trying to start building, it like you slowly see it slip away. And so the habit that you're trying to build, if you miss it on Monday, you want to make it non-negotiable that on Tuesday you're going to do it. And that is where never miss twice comes in. It's okay if you forget. It's okay if you fail. It's okay if you mess up, but make it your goal to never miss twice. And just like with decluttering, you're never really done building habits. For the rest of your life, you're going to continue building them. You're either building them towards the kind of home and the person that you want to be, or the kind of home and person that you don't want to be. And so we've got to be doing these constant check-ins. Are the habits that I am implementing, are they getting me to the peaceful home that I want to have? The aim isn't for perfection. So remember that with your kids. The aim is to continually be improving, intentional improvement, just 1% better than the next day. And that is the end goal. This is how your home will start to function with ease, and this is what's going to give you your summer back. And here's the exciting part. Summer was just the building window. These habits aren't going to pack up and go away once summer's done. In fact, you're going to see as the year progresses, they're actually what keep your home tidy after school starts back up, after life gets busier, and after the holidays come all year long. These are what's going to maintain your systems. One of the biggest places we often find ourselves decluttering is in our closets. I am kicking off a new series where I talk about specific organizing strategies for different spaces in our home. So if you're wondering how to organize your closet, make sure you've subscribed so when it comes out, you'll get notified. And if it's already out, you should see it right here. So go check it out. Go ahead. Until the next one, I'm rooting for you. Bye, friend.